Live from Bound Shadow Studios, BSB News.
Hello, welcome to BSB News. Well, tonight on the show, we have 5 interesting stories for you guys. A recent book called The New Jim Crow Laws is gaining a lot of popularity. It talks about how the war on drugs has become the new form of Jim Crow laws and is ultimately the mask for racism in our world today. While we weren't able to set up an interview with the author, Michelle Alexander, we were fortunate enough to receive a letter from her explaining the reasonings behind her statements. In the current world, it's easy to assume that we have made considerable progress in the civil rights movement. After all, we've gone from slavery to having our first African American president. However, this is not the case. Systemic racism is still a large issue in our society. We haven't eradicated racism, we simply renamed what we've called it. We all wish Jim Crow laws didn't replace slavery's role in society after it was abolished, and we all would have expected it. Why do we think that Jim Crow laws could not morph into another form of discrimination? Some people say that even if racism was still around, it surely must be better, as all things do get better over time. I say wrong. The more time you allow racism to exist, the more time it has to perfect its craft and become an invisible force. This new form of racism has taken the name of the war on drugs, and it is extremely successful at making sure African Americans continue to feel inferior to rights and that they never have a chance to rise up themselves. It's going to take a complete reform of how our justice system processes criminals, and I, Michelle Alexander, will fight for it all the way. Well, following that note, debates all over the country have sparked over whether or not it's constitutional for police to be able to search you for drugs without a warrant. We take you now to a current debate in Washington.
I think it's perfectly fine for law enforcement to search people for drugs without a warrant because it would take too much time to get a warrant to seize someone's drugs. By that time, the drugs have already been consumed or traded.
Police have better things to do than to search everybody for drugs. There are murderers, rapists, more evil men in the world than drug dealers.
Most of the time, drug consumption can lead to more evil crimes. We're trying to prevent those crimes while they're still small.
The police don't care about little boys in their
Shouldn't be a home cooking.
Oh, you're retired.
Oh boy. Well, we'll let them work it out for now. Next, we head live to Amanda Williams to interview MFA Stewart.
So, ma'am, what exactly led to this?
Well, I was sitting outside my apartment complex when SWAT stormed my section of the building and arrested everybody in the building. Then they took me down to the station and said I was here because of a drug bust. Apparently, somebody in my building was a large drug dealer and was selling to all my neighbors. I was in absolute shock. I would never jeopardize my family like that. My lawyer then came in and said that the prosecution was offering a plea deal. He said I should take the deal, but I knew deep down that I didn't do anything wrong. But what was I supposed to do? I have 2 beautiful girls at home. Who's going to take care of them? After about a month, I decided to accept the plea deal so that I could get back to my babies. I was given 10 years of probation and I owe $1,000 in fines. And to top it off, about a week later, the judge dismissed all the cases, saying that the testimony was based on a single person's unverified claim. Yet I'm still a registered drug felon. I can't collect food stamps, I can't vote for at least 12 years, and I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month.
Now, some people say that Emma Stewart's situation could be avoided if we treated felons like other countries, allowing them to vote and have other basic rights during their time serving out their sentence. We head now to see what Professor of Sociology at Stanford University, Dr. Jones, has to say.
You know, in most countries, they still allow criminals to vote even during their prison sentence. Great Britain even says that we are violating the UN laws. We honestly treat our criminals like dirt, and it's despicable. And when we do allow our felons a way to vote, we make them jump through all kinds of hoops to get there. Why even bother them? There was a Vietnam veteran who was in prison for having $10 worth of marijuana, and now he's denied the right to vote every year. How absurd. This man served our country with great valor in a war that wasn't even worth fighting. And now we're denying him his basic right as a human being? It's just sickening. I can't even think about it anymore.
If you recall back in 2008, on June 15th, former President Barack Obama gave a speech on Father's Day, encouraging African American men to be better fathers for their families.
But if we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that too many fathers are also missing. We know that more than half of all black children live in single-parent households. Half. a number that's doubled since we were children. We know the statistics that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime. They're 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. They're more likely to have behavioral problems or run away from home or become teen parents because the father wasn't in the home.
Yet, despite Obama's largely positive reaction from that speech, some still argue that Obama himself has been brainwashed by the new Jim Crow laws we all call the war on drugs. They say that the reason so many fathers are missing from children's lives is because they're all being incarcerated, that the war on drugs is what started the decline in fathers missing from households. From Living Room News, I'm Xavier Tirone, signing off.